me. This is the 1-minute warning for everybody to settle down. 1 minute. All right. Tick tock, tick tock. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We're about to start the proceedings.
Imagine.
A place that redefines. An education that changes perspectives.
Imagine.
A place that redefines not just what you learn,
but how you learn.
A place that encourages you to evolve.
Inspires you to aspire.
That's built to rebuild your prospects.
an education that changes perspectives,
and pushes boundaries.
a world-class undergraduate experience unlike any other,
Where you redefine your future.
with some of today's leading scholars, inventors, and mentors.
And with peers from diverse backgrounds.
Brought together by the passion and pursuit of excellence.
A journey that will change
How you see yourself,
and transcend what you imagine.
An experience attainable no matter
who you are,
Or where you come from.
Discover
explore.
and be part of a world of limitless possibilities.
To create, innovate,
And collaborate.
make the world your classroom.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats as the event is about to begin. Will everyone please take their seats so we can begin the evening? Good evening. On behalf of Shaukat Dhanani, the Dhanani family, and the members of our host committee, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Habib University Foundation USA Annual Fundraising Gala. I am Usman Dhanani, and I will be your host for this evening. We will start the Thank you. We will start the proceedings with the recitation of verses from the Holy Quran. Will Adil please join me on stage?
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Sadaqallahul azim.
Thank you, Adil. Some of us here today are familiar with Habib University, and some of us will be hearing about it for the first time. I had the pleasure of visiting Habib University for the first time last year in September, and boy was I pleasantly surprised. First of all, the love and hospitality the Habib and Rizvi family showed us was just incredible. That itself could have made the trip. But when we arrived to the university, I was truly shocked. Walking around, the architecture made me feel like I was walking around a university in California. Then we started talking to the students. And at this point, it took me back to my college days. The discussions we were having, the outlook on the university, and the way they were hanging out just showed how much pride they had in Habib University. The culture Habib has created is one of any world-class university. This evening, we invite you to join us in learning more about how investment in supporting higher education in a country like Pakistan creates opportunities for long-term impact. I would like to invite a man that I look up to for many different reasons, but especially for his deep commitment to supporting causes that have a positive impact on younger generations. His family's pledge to this belief is now a perpetual legacy on the walls of Habib University. Please join me in inviting my father, Shaukat Dinani.
Thank you, son. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome all the guests. I'd like to welcome all the dignitaries that are here, members of the Habib family, representatives of Habib University and the board, my friends and colleagues. Welcome to Habib University Foundation, USA's first annual fundraiser in Houston. A special welcome to Mr. Mehdi Hassan for graciously agreeing to be the keynote for this evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I would like to thank our host committee for their time, effort, and support in bringing this event together. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment, and I really want to thank each and every member of the host committee and the support staff that has specially flown in, Habib University support staff that has flown in specially from Karachi. Thank you, all of you. And also, especially, I'd like to thank my assistant, Amal. Thank you, Amal, for putting all the hard work in this. I'm going to talk a little bit about Habib University. As you all know, I've been involved with them for the last few years, and my involvement is pretty deep and pretty genuine with me and my family. We all had flown to Pakistan in September 2015 2018, about 22 members of our family for the event, and then that shows the commitment of the Dhanani family towards Habib University. Why are we so involved with the Habib University? Well, there are a few good reasons that I can mention. Habib University is Pakistan's first liberal arts and science institution and has been created by the largest endowment made in Pakistan's history towards higher education by the House of Habib. I and my family have stepped forward to become part of this great institution, as we firmly believe that philanthropic support to higher education is a long-term investment in a developing country. Our support in the form of Dhanani School of Science and Engineering is a long-term vision of educating the brightest minds that build Pakistan and bring about a global change. Obviously, this world-class universities takes a lot of time, effort, and planning, which a lot of that credit goes to the Habib family in bringing this together and bring this to the fruition. Once that has been done, then you need somebody who can run this world-class university as a world-class university, and I am truly impressed the leadership of President of Habib University, Mr. Wasif Rizvi, who's here. And his commitment is phenomenal. He will do anything for the university that he can do, and then he will drag people with him to do the same. The fundraiser tonight is one way of introducing this inspirational project and seeking your support in building an endowment that allows us to admit students at no cost to them. Matter of fact, 90% of the students at Habib University today receive some form of scholarship. But 45% of the students, 45% are students are on 100% scholarship. This is trying to provide high quality education to the students who deserve but have no means. So this is the goal, to have the brightest mind come to Habib University, whether they can afford it or not. And for university to sustain, we need endowment. And that's what we are trying to do, is build the endowment so we can, if we have to, we can have 50, 60% of the students on 100% scholarship if we have to, as long as they qualify to be in there. And it cannot be done without the support of our community. The Pakistani diaspora is known for its philanthropy towards Pakistan and in the United States. Over the course of the evening, we would like you to understand this remarkable project, the importance of such institutions in Pakistan and South Asia, and why it is important for Pakistani diaspora to support it. I look forward to all of us generously supporting this unique project, and I hope you enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Dad. Our next speaker is the first and founding president of Habib University. If this is your first time hearing him speak, I can tell you it's a great treat how he will make you question your views on Pakistan and the modern world. A Harvard alum with years of experience in educational development, Wasif has made Habib University a leading institution in Pakistan within the first 5 years of its existence. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming President Wasif Rizvi.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. So, when I was here last September, I made 3 promises to myself. The first one was that if Usman were to be the MC again and I were to share the stage with him, I better lose about 20 pounds. Right? Didn't really happen. The second was that, the city with 200% humidity, I better get a haircut. Yeah, 0 for 2. The third one was that never in my life I'm going to follow Azra Raza in making any presentation or speech. So I got that one right, right? So this should tell you what a Harvard education trains you for, to get 33% of your resolutions right, especially if you've gotten in on a water polo scholarship. No, I got unfair because Photoshop did not exist in my time, so. I'm honored to be here. How about a big hand for the wonderful Dhananis? I do want to acknowledge our host committee by name. First, our wonderful and dedicated chair of the host committee, Dr. Asim Shah, Dr. Ashraf Abbasi, Mr. Fayaz Faiz, Mr. Fuad Kochinwala, Dr. Gulzar Nathani, Mr. Haroon Sheikh, Mr. Mubashir Chaudhry, Dr. Mubashir Chaudhry, Dr. Muhammad Hanif, Mr. Muhammad Ali Dhanani, so he gets 2 as a Dhanani as well as a host committee. Mr. Muhammad Jamil, Dr. Shagufta Naqvi, Mr. Talib Dhanji, and Dr. Tariq Aziz. Thank you so much. Mayor Zimmerman, Nancy Zimmerman, thank you for being there. Ali and Muniza Habib, thank you for flying. They got in yesterday on that 17-hour flight, so thank you for making it. Mr. Ali Habib is the chairman of House of Habib and the eldest grandson of the legendary Muhammad Ali Habib, and the emphasis being on the oldest. So it's a 17-hour flight. Wonderful. Marzia Hassan and Muslim Hassan are representing Rafiq Habib, who couldn't be here. He sends his best wishes, duas to all of you. He was here in September, but because of health reasons, he couldn't travel. But thank you, Marzia and Muslim, for being here. Our wonderful board members, Arvid and Mark, thank you. Arvid from New York, Mark from College Station. He just drove down. And of course, Pervez Ghias, the CEO of Habib University Foundation in Karachi. My team from Habib University, and especially Amal Al Saud. So thank you so much, Amal, for putting this together. And last but not least, phenomenal Dr. Azra Raza and wonderful Mehdi Hassan who accepted this being the keynote speaker out of a cold call. So apparently this cold call business, just like you, works in this country, right? Well, so thank you for being here. I am not following either of you, so I'll just sit there with my popcorn to see the battle of these two giants. So thank you for being here. So many of you who may have heard me give these presentations, there's this term that I use. So the theme is sustaining excellence in higher education. But the term that, I'm clicking it, where should I point it? There? It's not working. Okay, so let them, oh, here you go. So I call it the Pakistan's paradox. Actually, it's borrowed from Charles Dickens. 160 years ago, he wrote the famous Tale of Two Cities. It starts with this, perhaps the most fascinating, gripping, paradoxical statement. It was the best of times and it was the worst of times, right? It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair, right? So in Pakistan, one feels like, as long as I've been alive, and I'm not going to tell you how long, that there is always this cusp of this great promise, but always this moment of crisis as well. So this is Pakistan's paradox. So let's look at the worst of times. We've flipped the Dickensian phrase. Oops. So this is a graph, if you look at it closely, these are two graphs. One shows Pakistan's place in higher education, other is Human Development Index. There is no other development indicator, no other development indices which hug each other so closely. Higher you are ranked in higher education, higher is your Human Development Index. Unfortunately, when you see Pakistan, you see this big dip in both, in higher education and in Human Development Index. So it is now lowest in SAARC countries as well, right? So it has slipped below even Nepal. Oops, I don't know what's happening. I'm not controlling it, somebody else is, right? No, I need to know. Oh, okay. All right. I don't know. It didn't work, Chris. Oh, okay, it is working now. This is the climate risk index as well. So everywhere we look, we see this evidence of crisis or so this political transformation improved lately. A couple of times we've been able to, with some kicking and screaming, people did leave. But nevertheless, it's still pretty low. But the best of times are always lurking in Pakistan, right? There's no bigger indicator of the best of times than the generosity of Pakistanis, right? Now, this 1% GDP puts us Pakistan in the top 6, 7 countries in the world in terms of generosity, right? So it's about 0.95. Now you compare it to Germany or Canada, it's almost half of that. There is the big reveal later, which is the highest, which is 2.06. It's the 6th most populous country in the world. I don't believe that. I think we are the 5th. We have left Brazil in our dust long time ago, but we don't count the number of people we produce well, but nevertheless. And more than half of our population is young. This is a little annoying. Right now, it's the 41st largest economy in the world. It promises to be the 18th largest economy by 2050. And it is perhaps geographically speaking, it's the most fascinating spot in the world, right? So it is on our north is the Chinese civilization, on east is the Indian civilization, to our west and southwest is Central Asian and Persian, across the narrow sea is the Middle East. Can't think of a more fascinating neighborhood in the world than where Pakistan is. So how do we convert this potential into some outcome? Oops, I think I jumped a slide. So let's look at this Mariana Trench again. The answer is right in front of us, right? You lift your higher education index, as it shows, Human Development Index and so many other development possibilities will go up with it. So what is preventing us from climbing out of that 115th place in the world? So these are the three fundamental challenges that Pakistani higher education faces. Intellectual challenge, what type of education, access, who gets to go there, and how do you sustain something if you're trying to do a good job? So let's look at the intellectual challenge. Now this is just, one telling statistic that was reported widely in the world, that in this vast region in the world, so the intellectual challenge is not limited to Pakistan, but especially in Pakistan, that you have a number of extremists who are coming out of professional universities. So you have your engineers and your doctors and your accountants and your MBAs, with apologies to all the doctors and engineers and accountants here, who seem to be inclined towards not only not preventing, but participating in this, because their view of the world in their higher education is so narrowly formed. This is the access challenge. So only 9% of Pakistani university-going students get to go to any kind of university. Now within that, there is another very big bottleneck. So you see, we have played with this color. About 96% of our students come out from what is known as state-run examination system. Only 4% come out of international examination system. But when it comes to getting to universities, you see how that yellow balloons to 87% and how that purple shrinks to just 13%. So we disenfranchise almost all the high school population even before they have any opportunity to get to a university. The other thing about is the affordability. Now, higher education is one of the most steep rising cost in the world. This is from Bloomberg. So in last 30 years, it has risen by 538%. So that obviously presents a barrier. I don't know. So what compounds the access challenge, that universities that are there, the only revenue stream that they have is student tuition. So some of the key universities in Pakistan, about 80–90% of their operational costs have to be recovered from student tuition. Now, if you want to recover costs from students, you are forced to admit students, only those students who can pay. That's why you have that 96.4% and so on. So Pakistan is very generous, as I just shared with you. So why that generosity is not allowing students to get into higher education? That's why, right? So while Pakistan is one of the most generous countries in the world, in higher education, only a sliver of that contribution goes to higher education. And that's not too atypical of the world, by the way, because everywhere in the world, the universities were supposed to be state-run. Pakistan was no different. So the philanthropic instinct never developed from that particular perspective that they are required to support universities. So that's how narrow it is right now. So with these challenges in mind, how do we envision a transformative institution? First and foremost, this happened. So perhaps the most renowned philanthropic family in Pakistan reoriented their philanthropic focus towards higher education. Now that's a commemorative stamp of Muhammad Ali Habib, the patriarch of the Habib family. And if you can read closely, he was acknowledged in Pakistan not as a banker, not as an entrepreneur, but as a philanthropist, right? So they gave this substantial grant to initiate this particular institution. So this was the first big break that occurred. Then addressing the intellectual challenge. So we are the first liberal arts and science institution in Pakistan, right? So essentially, and we have our Dean of Faculty and Vice President of Academic Affairs, Chris Taylor. So I encourage you to speak with him. He just joined us from a university in New Jersey, looking at the intellectual fabric that Habib University has. And according to him, that has perhaps more inspiring promise than many institutions here in this country. So that's what it is. It is an effort to create engaged citizens. So all students at Habib have to go through this reflection: historical and social thought, philosophical thought, formal reasoning, language and expression, essentially grounding our students with this kind of reflection that they can understand their society, they can understand their moment in time, and they can do something about it. There you go. This is the current student to faculty ratio, right? So we deliberately put, most of you have heard of these institutions, have gone there or sending your kids. See, we are kicking butt of all Texas, famous Texas institutions right there. So UT, 18 to 1. Houston, 22 to 1. I met a bunch of very bright students from there. And Swarthmore is good company. That's #1 ranked liberal arts college in the world. This is one phenomenal campus. So those of you who visit, who have family or come to Karachi, I encourage you to just experience Habib University campus. And this is some endorsement, right? So our key partners, not far from here, Texas A&M, University of Michigan Ann Arbor, Pitzer College, Carnegie Mellon University, Stanford University, Harvey Mudd College, which is the #1 undergraduate engineering institution in the world, UC Berkeley. These are equal partners, peer-to-peer partners, our students get to spend a semester there, faculty gets exchanged, and so on. And every time we hear that what they see in Habib is a promise, essentially, which is leading into a new and contextualized kind of education. Maria Clave visited us last year. She is a board member at Microsoft, the leading female computer scientist in the world, and the president of Harvey Mudd College, which is the #1 engineering institution. We should have played her clip there because this sounds too emphatic to be true, but that's true. Habib University is a beautiful idea which has the potential to transform not just Pakistan and its economy and human development, but also inspire many countries around the world to do the same, right? It was a humbling and a proud moment for us when we heard this from a leading higher education leader in this country. Remember the access challenge? Let's revisit it, right? Only 9%, out of that 9%, 96%, they are never going to see the inside of a university or a good university. So we delinked sustainability from student tuition. As Shaukat Bhai said, 90% of our students are on financial aid and scholarship. But this is the key program. So we have ensured that at least 1/3 of our class, fully funded, has to come from that particular yellow shrinking side of the pie, which is students coming from local examination boards. We call it the TOPS program, Talent Optimization, Promotion, and Support. So this 33% is 32% better than IBA. IBA, which is supposedly a public university in Karachi, has 1% students coming from this background. We are already at 1/3 of it. So how do we sustain this? Now it's the most obvious big reveal. There's something remarkable that happens in this country. So it is off the chart. 2.06 of their GDP, and the size of American GDP is $19 trillion, is given in philanthropy. So why did US develop this unique culture? What is so special about it? See this? So the universities like Harvard and Princeton, great institutions, came way before, and Yale as well. But especially Harvard and Princeton. I'm a Harvard man, right? So I have to disacknowledge their existence. So 150 years before the country was around, philanthropy was happening. So this was the inspiration to American philanthropy, which has created the most unique fabric of philanthropy anywhere in the world. Americans getting inspired by supporting higher education, they support museums, they support art, they support research. Very, very different than anywhere else in the world. That's their secret. Sorry, this is still jerky. So what they do is, apart from money, these universities are phenomenal platforms for communities to form over centuries, families to build legacies, contributions to be made. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people participate in supporting these institutions. Oops. So this is the extent of total charity, and this is what goes to higher education, right? And what is really telling, that about $8 billion of those dollars come from non-alumni individuals. People who have nothing to do with those universities are inspired by those institutions to a point to contribute to that extent. So not only the Americans give money, they get money from around the world, right? So these are global citizens who are contributing hundreds of millions of dollars to universities in the US. So whether people from China or India and so on. But one good thing is happening, that because of that, philanthropists are getting a hang of the value of supporting higher education. So these are two very inspiring examples from Singapore and from Hong Kong, where universities in those parts of the world have been supported by private donors. So this was our theory, that if this is happening, let's share this story, these key features of this new, what we believe is inspiring institution, that it is established just like a great US university by a devoted founder. It is solving the intellectual challenge in the country, and crucially, it is addressing the access problem. And we brought this particular story here to US Pakistani diaspora, who are armed with this dual insight. They have strong cultural affinity they continue to have with their country, and they have whether conscious or subconscious understanding of US philanthropy. And something magical happened. This, right? Ladies and gentlemen, in September of 2018, just a few months before, the Dhanani family and the Dhananis have become the co-authors of this wonderful story that is of Habib University. There's some artwork on it, but that's a real picture of where we dedicated Habib University's Dhanani School of Science and Engineering. Not only they initiated this phenomenal legacy, they have acted as a platform for us to engage all of you and your philanthropic potential. And you have a lot of potential. Here is the extent of Pakistani diaspora philanthropy, which is in tune of $1 billion. But look at the characteristic. When the giving is happening towards Pakistan, it is only towards charity. 60% of the giving of US Pakistani philanthropists is in the US. And see, UT, Stanford, Columbia, Notre Dame. So it's not a question of zara nam ho to ye mitti badi zarkhez se jati. The mitti is already zarkhez. It just needs to sprinkle a little bit on the left side of this pie chart, right? You guys are doing enough, but you need to start viewing Pakistan with the same lens the way you view philanthropy here, right? So this is the reorienting of it. And this sustainability is very, very within reach, right? Because Pakistan, the great advantage is that the costs are at a fraction, right? We don't have $1 trillion disappearing in Pentagon accounting, right? Right? So the costs are very, very manageable. I'll show you. So the cost of training a student per year at Habib University is $10,000. We only recover, by the way, let's on average $2,000. Imagine, it's next to nothing. We have put some other costs in this country, so it's a fraction of a cost. And how will we become sustainable? Here you go. You have hundreds of millions and billions of dollars of endowment that are required for universities to be sustained here. We didn't want to put Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford here because this graph is not big enough. It's going to be off the chart. And here is our target, 100 million. And I'm proud and humbled to share with you, we are already in 5 short years, we are already at 25% of it. With the generosity of philanthropists in Karachi and the generosity, of course, of people here. So that's the target. It's bilkul qareeb. The best of times are well within our reach. And what are the pathways? How can you do it? First is support our students. You have in front of you material, and you will know more about it, that your contribution. There are various kinds. We are completely zakat compliant as well. Support them through scholarships, support them through financial aid. These are the students who are the very best in Pakistan and Karachi. Many of them wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to any university, let alone come to a tier 1 university like Habib, if it wasn't for the model that we have. Intellectual legacies, which is commonplace in this country. We all bemoan the absence of good, profound narrative about Pakistan. How can a good, profound narrative about Pakistan come into being without creating the intellectual capital, right? So if we are supporting our scholars, if they're writing, if they're publishing, if research is happening, that's when the story about Pakistan will begin to change. And of course, these lifelong legacies, right? There are many opportunities. You won't find a more inspiring campus, physical campus, to stamp yours and your families and your ancestral legacy than Habib University. We already have many. There are some examples right there. Right? So before I'm actually coming to the conclusion of this, so I wanted to borrow from another literary giant, and this time close to home, Faiz Ahmed Faiz. So just yesterday I was sort of thinking of this ghazal, which is, a famous ghazal of his. Hum par tumhari चाह का इल्ज़ाम ही तो है, दुश्नाम तो नहीं है, ये इकराम ही तो है. तो कहता है, दिल ना उम्मीद तो नहीं, नाकाम ही तो है. Yeah, I don't despair. Maybe I have failed a few times. My heart. लंबी है गम की शाम, मगर शाम ही तो है. Right? The night of agony could be long, but still, it's a finite night. It's going to come to an end. Daste falak mein gardish-e taqdeer to nahi. Right? We were discussing this, Niazi bhai, yesterday. कि तकदीर तो टाइम के हाथ में नहीं है. दस्ते फलक में गर्दिश अय्याम ही तो है. Right? So only the ups and downs of few days. So ladies and gentlemen, Gardish-e-Ayyam in Pakistan took a decisive positive spin in August of 2014 when we started the Habib University due to the phenomenal generosity of the Habib family. We got into another orbit, another positive orbit of this Gardish-e-Ayyam in September of last year, when we have our co-authors of this story, Dhananis, joining us. And now, it's my great privilege to give it in your hands where you want to take this Gardish-e-Ayyam in Pakistan with your Texas-sized generosity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wasif. Our keynote speaker for tonight, Mr. Mehdi Hassan, is an award-winning British journalist, a columnist for The Intercept, host of the popular Deconstructed podcast, host on Al Jazeera English, and an adjunct professor at Georgetown University. Mr. Hassan has been described as one of the world's best television journalists and has been included in the annual list of the 500 most influential Muslims in the world. Before I invite Mr. Hassan on stage, I would just like to remind everybody that there should be no recording or filming of his speech. Will everyone please join me in welcoming Mr. Mehdi Hassan.
Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, good evening. May the peace, blessings, and mercy of God be upon us all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Come on, I thought Texas was big. Where's some noise? Assalamu alaikum. There you go. I know I'm a brown man standing between brown people and food, but you can make some noise tonight. You can say stuff in Arabic. You're not boarding a Southwest Airlines flight. Nothing will happen to you. My name is Mehdi Hassan. I want to start by thanking the Dhanani family, the Habib family, and of course the Habib University Foundation USA for hosting us all here in this beautiful venue tonight. Give them a big round of applause. I also want to say it's always a pleasure to be back here in Houston, Texas, because I see myself as an honorary Houstonian. I really do. I've been coming to this city. I just calculated today's my 20th year. I first came to Sugar Land, Texas in 1999. Oh, the Sugar Landers are in the house there. I came here in 1999. I was a young intern. I worked in a congressman's office for the summer. I then married a Houstonian. My wife was raised in this city. My in-laws still live in this city. So I am a Brit based in Northern Virginia, but I'm a Brit who has an unexpectedly long-standing attachment to Texas and especially to Houston. But we're not here to talk about Houston and Texas tonight. We're here to talk about Pakistan, or at least higher education in Pakistan. We just had that wonderful presentation. To be clear, there's always some confusion. I am not Pakistani myself. I should just put that out there, even though I share a name with Pakistan's king of ghazal, the late great Mehdi Hassan, which is always a problem for me at airports. Whenever there's someone Pakistani, they want me to sing, which is always, I can't sing, which is always a problem. I can't even sing in the shower. So I got the name, but I can't do anything with it. My parents are from India, Hyderabad, India, not from Pakistan. In fact, someone wants to clap for Hyderabad. Go ahead, that's fine. Best biryani in the world. In fact, a few years ago, back when someone set up my Wikipedia page, it read, some troll went on Wikipedia and wrote that Mehdi Hassan is a journalist and he's a British Pakistani extremist. So I rang my father. I said, Dad, my Wikipedia page says I'm a British Pakistani extremist. My dad said, how dare they? How dare they call you Pakistani? And I said, Dad, they call me an extremist. He's like, yeah, that's bad too, but make sure you change the Pakistani. Proud Indian father. What can you do? But look, we're all brothers and sisters here. We're all from the subcontinent. And I see myself as an honorary Pakistani. I really do. I have Pakistani family members, Pakistani friends. I love Pakistani food. You know what I love the most? I love the appreciation and support that I get from Pakistani viewers of my show, Pakistani readers of my article, but best of all, the people from Pakistan who leave comments on my Facebook page. They are the best. No one beats the comments from my brothers and sisters in Pakistan. But Pakistan has been having a rough ride of it recently, as you know, especially with the growing tensions in the subcontinent over what else? Kashmir. That festering wound, that unresolved conflict, that paradise on earth, which has become such a hell on earth for so many of its residents. And let me just say this, it's not my topic tonight, but I do want to say this. Wherever you stand on the Kashmir dispute, whichever side you take, can we all agree that it is ordinary and innocent Kashmiri people who have suffered hugely at the hands of militaries and militants, at the hands of regional and international powers for more than 70 years? Let us on nights like this remember the long-suffering people of Kashmir who are still waiting for justice, who are still waiting for equality. Recently, though, tensions have escalated over Kashmir in India and Pakistan last month. Got to hand it to the Indians and Pakistanis. Other people have, entered the Guinness Book of World Records for nice things. India and Pakistan last month became the first countries in human history with nuclear weapons, the first nuclear powers to bomb each other. Never happened before. Thank God they dropped conventional bombs, not atomic bombs. But of course, the subcontinent remains a nuclear flashpoint. Forget North Korea. Keep your eye on India and Pakistan if you're worried about the accidental use of nuclear weapons. But the ongoing, seemingly never-ending conflict with India has cost ordinary Pakistanis dearly, and in more ways than one. The country has traditionally spent far more on the military as a proportion of national income than it has on education. In fact, as a proportion of income, of national income, of GDP, Pakistan has one of the lowest education budgets, not just in the region, but in the world. It has more than 20 million children not in school today, more than half of them young girls. The challenge of access to education is huge in a country where 64% of the population, as you just saw, are under the age of 30, and yet education expenditure still remains so low. Less than 10% of the population in Pakistan, less than 10% have access to higher education. That is a scandal. And the country as a whole has a literacy rate of only 60%, which itself masks a massive gender disparity. For men, the literacy rate is 70%. For women, it is barely 50%. And so tonight, I want to commend the Habib University and the founders of that university and the sponsors of that university and the donors to that university, many of whom I hope are sitting in this room tonight, for having both the foresight and the generosity to invest in higher education in Pakistan, for setting up a university which has as its mission statement, and I quote, educating promising students from all backgrounds, encouraging them to, quote, contribute positively to the larger community, and promoting, quote, creativity, academic freedom, and crucially, in my view, the exchange of ideas. The exchange of ideas. This is what we all need more of. This is not just what Pakistan needs more of, but Muslim communities across the world, both in the East and the West. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need me to tell you that education is the most important factor in any community or country's social and economic development. It builds human capital by producing informed, productive citizens. It creates crucial and much-needed opportunities for members of the most economically marginalized or socially vulnerable communities, offering them a route map with which to potentially escape poverty or inequality or discrimination of various forms. And a well-educated community, remember, tends to promote what? Peace, equality, tolerance, not to mention greater prosperity. Any country or community that takes seriously its well-being, its cohesion, its future, has to establish and work towards clear educational goals, especially, as we heard a moment ago, higher educational goals. You saw the correlation. You saw the charts. In order to equip your youth with knowledge, attitude, confidence, and the skills they need to contribute to that well-being, to our common future, free of any discrimination based on gender or ability. Remember, you cannot be leaving girls and women behind. Education has to be inclusive, not exclusive. I don't understand how in 2019 any community, any society, any country, any continent can even begin to think about achieving economic success or prosperity if it's excluding over half its population. It's not just a scandal, it's self-destructive. We know this. We know this. We know the value of education. We know the value of a good college education. When it comes to our own kids, we fight hard to make sure that they get the best higher education they need, that they deserve. Look at the recent college admissions scandal here in the United States. It was all over the news. Look at the lengths to which some parents, including very wealthy celebrities, were willing to go in order to get their kids into the best universities. You had Lynette from Desperate Housewives and Aunt Becky from Full House. Aunt Becky! Allegedly breaking the law. They're now among 50 people charged in a $25 million college entrance exam cheating scheme. Now, I hope none of us in this room would break the law to get our kids into a good school. But you know what? There's a sea of brown faces in this room. I can guarantee you, I know a lot of us would do everything possible short of breaking the law to get our kids into the best schools, to try and ensure they have the best opportunities. But here's the thing, it's not enough to just make sure our own kids get a decent education, a decent college degree. We have to make sure that all our kids get a decent education and a decent college degree. Especially if you want to call yourself a good Muslim, we want to pat ourselves on the backs. What does it mean to be part of a community, part of an ummah like ours, if we don't have that sense of collective responsibility towards our brothers and sisters, whether at home or abroad, that sense of an obligation beyond ourselves and our own immediate families? We are all in this together, ladies and gentlemen. And so our struggle against inequality and injustice and deprivation, our struggle in pursuit of opportunity and prosperity has to be a common struggle. As Dr. Martin Luther King so famously remarked, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught, he said, in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I look at my own background, my own experience. I would be nothing today were it not for the education that was paid for by my parents. Paid for. I was lucky enough, blessed by God, to have two wealthy parents who made sure that I went to the best high school, made sure that I could afford to go to one of the best universities. I know that today I would be nothing without that investment from my parents, without that higher education, nothing. Without the doors that opened for me as a result of that education, without the confidence that I acquired as a result of that education, without the skills, experience, knowledge that I obtained as a result of that education. I'm under no illusions about any of that. I mean, look, there are not many things that I agree with Tony Blair with. But when the then British Prime Minister in the late 1990s was asked what his top 3 priorities for government were, he replied, I only have 3 priorities: education, education, education. And those have to be our priorities as individuals, as families, as communities, as countries. We have to commit to the idea that no matter what we look like, or where we come from, or what our parents do, or how high our bank balances are, each of us should have the opportunity to fulfill our God-given potential. And look, democracy too, whether in the US or the UK or Pakistan or India, depends on an informed and educated citizenry. Thomas Jefferson said it best: if the nation expects to be ignorant and free, it expects what never was and never will be. You look at the problems and the challenges that we face today. Yes, the populists and the nativists, they try and reduce it all to simple, or should I say simplistic, solutions. But climate change, terrorism, poverty, inequality, policing, race relations, AI, these issues seem complicated because they are complicated, and they seem to get more complicated by the day. So it is vitally important that we value post-secondary education, invest in it, whether you're in Houston or Karachi, whether you're in Los Angeles or Lahore, wherever you are. Remember also that while the great thinkers and writers and leaders of every generation have acknowledged and appreciated the power of education to promote prosperity, social mobility, democracy, the demands of a modern, ever-changing world make higher education more important, more crucial today than it's ever been in human history. Today's competitive global economy demands good quality college degrees as the price of entry for a range of career paths and fields. Here's a statistic for our own economy here in the US. As recently as the 1970s, people with only a high school education could qualify for nearly 3/4 of all the jobs in the US. By 2020, that number is expected to have fallen to half. Those jobs are going away and they are not coming back. We all know that income inequality has been growing in the US at a phenomenal rate. This is a country where the gap between the rich and the rest has exploded to a level not seen since the roaring 20s. Plus, there's a massive wealth divide between white communities and people of color. Now, education on its own doesn't solve those problems, of course. It's not a silver bullet. But it's essential to any solution that we want to consider. The reality is that here in the US, college graduates, as many of you know, make on average 70% more than those with just a high school diploma. Over the course of their lifetimes, college graduates will earn a full $1 million more than high school graduates. College graduates enjoy better health. They live longer. They're more likely to be married. They're more likely to have retirement benefits. But look, it's not just about money or material outcomes. It's about the kind of education we want to deliver to the next generation. Because higher education can lead the way to a more tolerant society. And you know what we all need more of? We all need a lot more tolerance. Not just in Pakistan, here in the US, across the West and across the East. But if you take Muslim societies, for example, we have a problem there. I speak from personal experience. We have a major problem. We don't know how to agree to disagree. It's my way or the highway. Or you have Muslim leaders or scholars or religious leaders or political leaders who get even one step worse. It's my way or death. No questioning, no debate, no discussion. We're not good at that. Higher education helps solve some of these problems, opens us up to debate and discussion. I deal with people. I have people who say to me, I swear to God, I have people who say, brother, I'm your biggest fan. I read 99 of your articles, but the 100th was horrible. I can't read you anymore. I'm like, why can't we agree on the 99 and disagree on the 100th? Really? This is our attitude. It's black and white. That is a result of a lack of open-mindedness, a lack of an ability to see other sides of the argument. There's a famous story told about Ali ibn Abu Talib, fourth Khalifa of the Ahl Sunnah, first Imam of the Shias. He's on the battlefield in the midst of a war, and a soldier comes to him. He says, Amir al-Mu'mineen, commander of the believers, tell me this, when was God created? The other soldier's like, are you crazy? We're in the middle of a battlefield, our swords are drawn, you're asking this theological question? Ali says, no, let him ask the question. This is the whole purpose we're fighting for. This is what we're about. The man says, well, tell me, when was God created? Ali replies, first tell me when he did not exist, and then I will tell you when he was created. Now, it's a great answer from Ali, but I tell the story not simply because of the answer, but here is a leader of Muslims in a battlefield saying, let's talk, let's discuss, ask questions, don't shut people down. We now move in societies where don't ask tough questions, don't rock the boat, don't upset people, we all have that, we know that. Higher education helps us get past that. Colleges, especially liberal arts colleges, are an unrivaled opportunity for debate and discussion, for engagement and open-mindedness. Habib University, which we're here to celebrate and support, is not just a university for science, it's a liberal arts college, one that offers an interdisciplinary education drawing on science and engineering, but also the humanities and social sciences. This is a university that offers bachelor's degrees in social development and policy, comparative liberal studies, communications and design. It basically takes brown people out of their comfort zones, to put it bluntly. These are not our comfort zones. For far too long, we know many Muslims, especially on the subcontinent, have not taken a lot of these subjects seriously. We all want our kids to be doctors, engineers, fine. But we also need to be encouraging younger generations to think outside the box, to be critical thinkers. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying go home and tell all your kids to become a journalist. I'm not saying that. I am saying, though, if you have 4 children, maybe only 3 need to be doctors. one can do something else. Just a thought, just a suggestion. And by the way, I say that as the son of a doctor and an engineer, the most classically desi professions there are. My mother still wonders why I'm a journalist. Why can't I be an accountant? It's too late for that. Not that there's anything wrong with being an accountant, especially in the coming weeks. But seriously, we need people who are critical thinkers, creative thinkers, who are communicators and visionaries. Because right now we are facing huge threats to our communities across the world. Islamophobia is rampant and escalating. Just a few weeks ago, 50 Muslims gunned down in Jummah prayers in New Zealand. In the middle of prayer. Why? Simply for being Muslim. In Quebec City, January 2017, just weeks after Trump's inauguration. Guy goes into a mosque in Quebec City, guns down, murders 6 Muslims in prayer. Why? Because they're Muslim. Here in the United States, according to the FBI, in 2017, 2018, there were more attacks on Muslims than in 2001, 2002. Think about that. The number of attacks on Muslims is higher now in the US than after 9/11. You have Muslim women in headscarves having their hijabs torn from their heads in the street. You have the only Muslim woman in Congress in a headscarf being demonized to such an extent that the death threats pour into Ilhan Omar's office every day. So here's my question to you all tonight. How are we going to win in this existential struggle that we're engaged in through no choice of our own, unless we're investing in educating our communities, unless we're educating our next generation? Can we do it in the state we're in today? Of course not. We need new leaders, young men and women who are willing to challenge conventional wisdom, willing to think outside the box, willing to risk and ask difficult questions. And these leaders don't emerge spontaneously, especially in countries like Pakistan, which are going through their best and worst of times every day. They don't pop up overnight. You and I, we have to invest in them. We have to support them. We have to build a higher education infrastructure. We have to support their emergence. The late, great Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we Muslims have been smeared and stigmatized as violent people, as people associated only with bombs and bullets. Let us remind the world that we as Muslims are much more interested in the weapon described by Mandela, the most powerful weapon of all to change the world, education. What did our Holy Prophet say? Seeking knowledge is an obligation on every Muslim. So ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we have to open the doors of higher education to students who are excluded from college, who don't have the opportunity to go to college. That is part of the reason we're here tonight. That's part of what we're here to support tonight, because we cannot afford to see college as just some luxury for rich folks, whether in the US or in Pakistan. We have to recognize how crucial it is to all of our futures, to the safety and survival of our communities. We have to recognize that we cannot just afford to sit back and complain about the world. Oh, we're in such a bad way, unless we're doing something about changing that world and changing the future of that world. Ladies and gentlemen, one of my Muslim American heroes, Malcolm X, once said that education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Let us prepare for it, not just today, but tonight, in this room. Let us not leave here tonight without each and every one of us agreeing to contribute to that future, prepare for that future, invest in that future, provide that passport of education to those who need it. We can do it, we have to do it, we will do it. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Wow, that was incredible. Can we please give Mr. Mehdi Hassan another warm round of applause? We kept our most powerful advocate and charismatic speaker at the end of this evening. Dr. Azra Raza is a professor of medicine and director of the MDS Center at Columbia University. She is also one of the leaders in the field of cancer research. A few of her awards include the Hope Award in Cancer Research, Woman of the Year Award from Safari, Pakistan, and the first Lifetime Achievement Award from UPNA. Dr. Raza is also a member of the Habib University Foundation US Board. Before we welcome Dr. Raza to the stage, I just want everyone to know that the delivery she gave last year at the Habib event left a lot of guests with their jaws dropped. It is truly a wonderful experience to hear her speak. Without further ado, Dr. Raza.
Thank you for that formidable introduction. I'll try to live up to this. There's an apocryphal story about a Pakistani who came to New York and buys a Rolls Royce and takes it back to Karachi. For a week, he's cruising the streets of Karachi happily, and then suddenly the car dies. So the best mechanics are called, and they give the diagnosis within minutes. The Rolls Royce has no engine. What? Said the Pakistani rich man. What are you talking about? I've been driving this for a week. Well, that, said the mechanic, is easy to explain. It's a Rolls Royce. For a week, it cruised on the basis of its name alone. So friends, on the basis of names present in this room today, we could have coasted along ad infinitum. But fortunately, we don't have one, but many engines driving us tonight. The Honorable Ali Habib, Manize Habib, Imran Habib, Marcia Habib, their extended family, Nadia and Shobhai, the extended Dhanani clan, Arvid Nelson, Mayor Zimmerman and Mrs. Zimmerman, President Wasif Rizvi, my best friend Mansoura and family. What a magnificent, honored speaker for the evening, Mr. Mehdi Hassan. The organizers of this glittering gala and dear friends, thank you all. What a fantastic and thought-provoking talk we just heard. So I'd like to begin by thanking Mehdi Hassan, whose legendary eloquence and erudition were on full display this evening, as you saw. But I'd like to address one little point that he raised about being a Hindustani and not a Pakistani. I am a Pakistani, and one of my best friends is Meera Nair, who's a film director and a Hindustani. And of course, my colleague is Siddhartha Mukherjee, who's a Bengali. So one of our Gora friends saw the three of us together and asked, "You guys look exactly alike. How do you tell the difference between who's who?" I said, "Very easy. Pakistanis are always overdressed." As you can see. Pakistanis always overdressed, Indians are always underdressed. Pakistanis overdressed, Indians underdressed, and the Bengalis just badly dressed. Sorry. I kid. I love the Bengalis. But for Mehdi Hassan, tum salamat raho hazar baras, har baras ke ho din 50,000. What a wonderful job you are doing at Al Jazeera. MashaAllah. Congratulations. I live in New York City. The mafia is very active there. And the mafia is very dangerous. They ask you for your money or your life. Wasif Rizvi is even more dangerous. He asks for both. And what's worse is that by the time he finishes, we want to give him both. When Wasif asks us to listen more hearingly to look at things more seeingly, to study more carefully, to think more seriously, to act more carefully and to live more compassionately, to interact more effusively. We respond more generously. His words and his larger-than-life personality are strong enough, but what ravishes us entirely is his sincerity, his authenticity, Wasif's devotion, his dedication to this most noble cause. Thank you very much, Wasif. And what can I say about the Dhanani family? Shobhai's generosity is the stuff of legends. I heard that when his credit card was stolen, Shobhai did not even report it. He wanted the thief to spend. I asked Shobhai, is this true? He shyly replied, actually no, but the thief was spending less than Nadia. I joke, I kid, because I love Nadia and Shobhai, and they know it, of course. But your support, your patronage, and that of the assembled incredible Dhanani extended clan is truly pioneering and revolutionary. You are setting a blazing trail. Thank you very much to the Dhanani family. And then, of course, there's the House of Habib. We are very fortunate to have several members of the family present tonight. My mother was generously patronized in her social and charitable endeavors by the great Sakkarbai, mother of Rafiq Habib. I had the honor of meeting her when I was young and accompanied my mother on some of these missions. What an imposing, formidable, dignified figure she cut, and yet so down to earth, so impassioned about humanitarian causes, so inspiring. It's no wonder that under such an outstanding matriarch, the Habib clan has produced one exemplary philanthropist after another. The spirit of giving is in the family's DNA. With time, the House of Habib has settled their sights on ever higher goals. What gives them the daring, the courage, the boldness, the audacity to reach for the stars? I say to you, it is not their shahi, it is their faqiri. This unique faqiri comes from a shahi of the heart. They are able to open their hearts and give love because उसी पर इश्क जचता है जो अंदर से कलंदर हो. An important question facing all of us right now is what to teach our children today that will be helpful to them in 2050. No one knows. No one can tabulate the particular skills that will be most useful just 30 years from now. The days of telling the children to become doctors and lawyers and engineers are long gone. There's a famous story that a woman in New York was walking on the sidewalk with two little kids of hers. So a friend who met her said, "Oh, Gloria, you never introduced me to your children." She says, "Oh, yes. The doctor is 5, the lawyer is 4. Those days are gone. One thing we know for certain is that the new generations have to be prepared to change, to to adjust, to adapt to rapidly changing scenarios. This requires an inner strength, a stronger character, the ability to distinguish the trivial from the authentic, to help chart the way through the tsunamis of existential crises that are waiting to rear their ugly heads in the future. This kind of inner strength and wisdom will not come from consulting the Wikipedia or listening to TED Talks all day. And it will not come from bombarding the students with more and more data, more and more information. No. Rather, what we need to help them develop are the skills to interpret the information we are giving them, to make sense of the context, to understand that which makes a thing good. And this, my friends, is the mission of the House of Habib, which the Dhananis have risen up to support, which Wasif is captaining with such effortless superiority, to create a university which produces a generation with the core strength to deal with what the great historian Yuval Harari describes as an age of super intelligent machines, engineered bodies, algorithms that can manipulate your emotions with uncanny precision, rapid man-made climate cataclysms, and the need to change not just your job, but your profession entirely every 10 years. This is what we need to become adjusted to. This is what our children need to learn how to do. And it will not come without inner strength. This is where all of us have a stake in the outcome of Habib's effort. Changing other people is notoriously hard. The prevailing wisdom on that one is don't hold your breath. But there's one thing that's even more difficult than trying to change other people, and that is changing yourself. We find all kinds of excuses to skirt around the issue and offer every reason to help explain our frailties. Like this woman who goes to the doctor and says, "Doctor, I have a problem with my height." "What?" The doctor said, "What's your problem with your height?" She said, "Well, according to my weight, I should be 7 feet tall." We find every reason, every excuse to explain ourselves away. But the time has come when we need to shake off the lethargy, to energize ourselves to keep up with the times. Change for the sake of the next generation to come. The Habibs, Dhananis, Wasif are leading the charge, showing us the way. But their endeavor will not succeed unless the rest of us step in and do our part. Let us do whatever is in our power to make this noble mission successful. For not just humanitarian reasons, but for very selfish reasons. Our children are at stake. Our future is at stake. Let us learn from the lessons of our great philosophers, our poets and thinkers. Let us teach our children these very lessons through a first-class education in the humanities. So I end my note of thanks to Mehdi Hassan and to Wasif Rizvi, to the House of Habib, to Manize and Ali Habib, to the Dhananis, Shaukat Bhai, Nadia, your extended family, and above all, to all of you, with a simple message. Let us help create a new generation whose attributes combine rationality with morality, with aesthetics. Create a generation where the children are equally able to do one of two things: जिससे जिगरे लाला में ठंडक हो वो शबनम, जिससे जिगरे लाला में ठंडक हो वो शबनम, और दरियाओं के दिल जिससे दहल जाएं वो तूफान. Thank you everybody.
Wasn't I correct? Isn't she amazing? Next, we'd like to show a short clip of Habib University.
Analysis of Pakistani higher education revealed something very worrying, that Pakistan has one of the worst higher educational systems in the world.
Seeing the gap, we decided to address the issue by building a world-class university with infrastructure, faculty, and of course exceptional students. And what we hope to produce are leaders of tomorrow.
The students of today are preparing for a world in which tremendous change is taking place. And Habib Education offers students the skills to be able to adapt to a rapidly changing marketplace.
Habib University's motto is Yosin, which means thoughtful cultivation. You are here to gain knowledge, not just to study a subject. All Habib students go through the Habib core, which is very unique in the sense that you are taught how to think critically and how to question your own history, how to interpret the realities around you.
We have faculty coming from Harvey Mudd, we have faculty coming from Pitzer College, we have faculty going to Olin College of Engineering, we have people coming from Stanford. There are lots of these connections that are really, really helping us reflect and grow. And what's really rewarding is that this diversity of students that we have at Habib University really makes good use of these pedagogical techniques we're using.
The engagement with faculty over here is just phenomenal because it's not just restricted to the classrooms. You can sit down with the professors and you can design your own courses.
One of the opportunities I got was to go to the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor last summer. One of the things I noticed was they had a lot of emphasis on their philosophy subjects, even in the engineering department, and that was very encouraging for me because we were doing the same thing at Habib University.
Habib University is among the most generous private universities in the world in terms of scholarships and financial aid that it offers to all its students.
And particularly, we have an emphasis on 50 kids a year. So there will be 200 such children in the university at all times who will pay no fee. They come under a program which we call TOPS.
HUTOPS program is a great platform through which a student is not only provided with 100% scholarship for 4 years, but is also exposed to various other opportunities that the university has to offer.
I think in Pakistan, getting a quality education is a privilege. And being awarded with 100% scholarship at Habib University, I am not at all worried about financial needs and can totally focus on my goal and my dreams.
Habib University has come into being as a result of one of the largest grants that has ever been given in the history of Pakistan to start an educational project.
We feel that education is the best way to permanently add value to the community.
We have not only a huge opportunity, but also a great responsibility to be part of new and evolving institutions for generations to come.
Supporting Habib University is just not a donation. It's an investment in the intellectual capital of our future generation.
We have engaged communities in Pakistan, and now we are taking our message globally. And it humbles me to say that our message has been very well received. Compassionate and committed communities create great institutions.
Before we conclude, I'd like to ask Dr. Asim Shah, the chair of our host committee, to come up and speak about the donation platform.
So first, I would like to say today I'm a proud Houstonian, but a proud Sugarlander also, because like Mandy-san said, his family was in Sugarland at some point, so go Sugarland. Also would like to acknowledge Brian Middleton, our district attorney from Fort Bend County. Sugarland is in Fort Bend County. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. And also Shri Kulkarni, who is our Congress candidate for next year. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. You can show the slide. So I'm going to show you how you guys can donate. You all have an iPad on your table. If you can find the iPad can take you to the link. By now, you all may have received a text. If you check your phone, you should have a text which can take you to the link also to donate, but there is an iPad on your table also. In addition to that, either you can use the phone or the iPad, but if you are like some of us, you cannot do any of that. Then there are some people who are running around with a swipe card, or you can hand the check like my friend handed to me right now. Either way is fine. But please use one of those options to donate. Next, please. And it's pretty simple when you log in. It will ask you what you want to do. Now, Habib University is 501c compliant and also accepts zakat, so whichever way you want to do it. And if the amount listed are the amounts you don't want to choose, there is a portion for other. You can select other and write the amount you want to. Then you go to the next slide, which is to the next screen, fill out your name and everything. And then next is where you can put your credit card information and all in a secure website, and then click donate. It's pretty simple. So again, you all have iPads, you all have text on your phones also, whichever way we want to do it. And let's see what's happening right now live on that. Can we have the next slide? So, a big round of applause for Zaki Niazi, who has already committed 150,000. We had an anonymous donor with 100,000. Thank you. Our first donation check came from actually Dr. Mubashir Chaudhary. It's a 40,000 pledge for a scholarship amount. We had another scholarship amount for full scholarship by Rafiq Saudagar and also by Javed Meghani. And again, you can see all the others coming in. So we don't want to say what is our target because we know that we're going to exceed our target. So please use your accounts, checkbooks, credit cards, and if you need any help, let us know. I'm the worst person right now because I'm standing between dinner and this event. So I'm not going to be here long. We're just going to be here a few more minutes, and then we all will proceed for dinner. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the wonderful speeches by Mehdi's son, Dr. Azra, Wasif, and Dhanani Saab. Thank you.
We're going to give you guys a few more minutes to make some donations and use the iPads before we conclude to dinner. Thanks.
So I'm going to send my team to the tables who haven't touched their iPads as yet. Right?
The donation platform will continue to be active during dinner. On behalf of Habib University Foundation US, Shaukat Dhanani, and President Wasif Rizvi, I would like to thank the chair of our host committee, Dr. Asim Shah, and members of the host committee for taking the responsibility of convening all of you here this evening. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will continue to engage with you over the course of the evening. Please enjoy dinner.